All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for the All Agency Training webinar. Today we will be going over the 2022 HUD data standard updates. Wanted to start off real quick with introducing myself and the team. My name is Stephanie, I'm the manager for HMIS, and I have my wonderful team here with me today. We have Alexis, Dakota, Curtis, Michael, Stephanie, and they will be taking everyone through all of these data standards today. Also, I wanted to talk a little bit about the purpose of the webinar. The purpose of the All Agency Admin webinar is to provide a consistent guidance to the primary points of contact for HMIS. We want to communicate workflow changes. We want to communicate policies, data entry and reporting so that you can take this information back to your team and help maintain the integrity of the homeless system. It is important to note that not all training portions of the webinar will be relevant to every program and agency. We do try to provide trainings that apply to most of the group. Agendas will be sent out a week prior, and we go through the agenda with the program types that will be relevant for. If you have any questions about whether a training segment applies to you and your agency, please don't hesitate to reach out to us here at the team. You can submit a ticket through the ticketing portal or give us a call on the help desk. Sorry, I jumped ahead one slide. Do you want to go back one? I did, sorry. So today we'll be doing a few announcements. We'll be doing some in-depth overview of the data standard updates that will be dropping this Friday, October 1st. And then of course, we'll be allowing for some Q&A at the end of each section and at the end of the webinar as well. So please use the Q&A feature at the bottom if you do have a question. And I will hand it over to Michael to take us through the start of the webinar.
Thank you, Stephanie. Hello, I'm Michael Sheriff. A few webinar reminders. Always remember that what we share here is for you to share with your relevant staff at your agency. During this webinar, to ask questions at the bottom of your webinar screen is a Q&A function. Use the Q&A function. Common questions are answered live. The answers will be aggregated and shared at a later date. Questions, longer questions, should be mailed to the HMIS help desk. Keep in mind, your agency's attendance is required, but we do record this video and make it available to you later. The video will be posted on our HMIS YouTube channel. We will email the video links to the video not later than Tuesday, October 5th. Any users not in attendance have until Friday, October 8th to complete the survey. Other announcements. So recordings of the sessions will be available on the website beginning in mid-October. Agency admins are responsible for submitting the following data. And this is regarding ticketing. New users, tickets must come from agency administrators. New project setups. Reports questions, or correction, new reports, custom trainings, and data requests all must come from agency administrators. The HMIS website, for those who haven't updated from our change, is now at community.solari-inc.org. So you can use this link for any ticketing questions and for access to all of our trainings. And the same with submitting a ticket. So I also, now there are a couple of other things I'd like to move over to. Thank you. So there are some changes beginning October 1st to the HUD data standards. One of the major ones is in race, 3.04 on your APR. So American Indian or Alaskan Native is now, or will be as of October 1st, American Indian, Alaskan Native, or Indigenous. Asian will be Asian or Asian American. Black or African American will be Black, African American, or African. Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander will be Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander. And of course, we go over all of these in our new user trainings. Ethnicity was Hispanic Latino, will be Hispanic Latin or Latina, Latino, or Latinx. And the opposite is for non-Hispanic, non-Latino is non-Hispanic, non-Latina, Latino, or Latinx. And that's all I have for right now. I'm going to turn it back to Alexis for some more updates.
Thank you, Michael. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your time. So on the new data standards that'll be released this Friday, gender is also going to have a slight makeover. So some of the changes that are going to come down will be female, male, a gender that is not similarly female or male, transgender, and questioning. Now we're gonna have the options that are similar to the APR with the multi-check functionality. So people that identify with multiple items, we will have that option now with regards to gender. And some other proposed changes that will be impacting us will be trans female, MTF or male to female has been completely removed. And then trans male also, FTM or female to male has been removed. And then keep in mind that the data collection guidance has been revised so that clients may select as many responses to the gender field as they would like to, with up to a total of 5 options possible for a client's preferred identity and need or situation. So self-identification will be manifesting in these new updates with the data standards. And then additionally, some common program specific changes. We're going to be adding logic for how to treat persons aging into adulthood. That will come out of 4.02 income and sources and 4.03 non-cash benefits. We've added 3 referral event response options to 4.20 in the coordinated entry event, some revised language to element name and responses regarding mental health in 4.09. And we also have some revised language to element name and responses in 4.10 with regards to substance abuse. And then we wanted to add some additional changes that will be impacting the HMIS system with regards to street outreach, longitude and longitude. So previously, latitude and longitude has been recorded in a separate service transaction. Latitude and longitude will now be recorded in the entry-exit workflow. There is no longer a need to record longitude and latitude in a separate service transaction. So the picture is an example of what we currently see with regards to longitude and latitude. So now it won't have to be recorded in that separate service transaction. One-stop shop. Shared housing. Addition to the SACE coordinated entry assessments, are you interested in shared housing? Yes or no? Another addition to the PHUD assessment, is the client participating in a shared housing arrangement? And if yes, what is the HMIS client ID? So those are some shared housing responses that will be added to the template for our HMIS data standards. Now, if we have some questions on the information that has been shared thus far, and or if there are some questions that have come down in the Q&A section, this is the best time to go ahead and either type your questions in, and Curtis, I'm passing the mic to, will go ahead and give us an overview of those questions.
Yeah, Andy's asking if the latitude and longitude will be input by outreach teams only. That is correct. So that will only be available for street outreach teams, and they're the only ones required to enter latitude and longitude for clients. Michelle's asking if a client previously identified as trans female, what will their record be converted to? Will the system automatically select transgender and female, or just transgender or just female? So how that will be recorded and how that's changing is, like you stated, with transgender and female. And I believe the system will be automatically updating all current clients. So there's mapping instructions that'll be going on by our service provider, WellSky, and those should all automatically happen. This instruction is primarily for new clients and making sure that we have those new clients updated correctly and entered in the new format. Another note with the gender is that the client doesn't know, client refused, or data not collected are not gender responses. Those are more of a response to signify why a gender wasn't collected.
I just tried to answer a question that was on there, and I'm sorry, I think it disappeared when I hit enter, but the question was, when will the paper forms be available? The updated paper forms should all be available on Monday, October 4th.
We'll be taking just a few more minutes to answer any questions in that first section.
There was a question in the chat from Anna.
Yes, so shared housing. So the shared housing question is only for coordinated entry and permanent housing. It is on the coordinated entry assessment, and it's something with trying to better match clients who are open to housing to give them more opportunities to get housed. I do think that is primarily meant for coordinated entry and permanent housing projects. Also, another question in the chat is, will you be adding gender non-conforming? One moment, let me pull up the actual data standards. It's because I think it fits into one of the other gender categories. So for the number 4 response, a gender other than singularly female or male, e.g. non-binary, gender fluid, agender, or a culturally specific gender, I believe gender non-conforming would fit into that category, as well as potentially the questioning category. Cindy's asking if we need to submit a request for our custom reports to include these new updates. If you notice a report that is broken, please submit that request. We will be trying to update it, especially reports that we know are used. It's hard with some of the different reports. We're not sure exactly what reports are still utilized and what reports aren't. So if you do notice after that first week, if there's a report that's not pulling in information correctly, yeah, go ahead and submit a ticket, and we'll definitely take a look at that and make sure that we get all the reports corrected so that you can do the correct monthly and reporting that you're already doing. So I think that's the questions for now. We will have more time for questions later. So go ahead, and if you want to, while people are talking, you think of a question, you can submit that in the question and answer. And when we get to our next question and answer time, those will be answered first. Otherwise, I will be passing the mic to Dakota, who can go over some of the COC program changes.
Yes, so we're still talking about HUD data standards 2022 changes. So these are specifically for the continuum of care projects. There will be a new element for well-being. And so this will be required for all continuum of care projects to collect. And the questions will be: client perceives their life has value and worth, and it's strongly disagreed to strongly agree scale. Client perceives they have support from others who will listen to problems. Client perceives they have a tendency to bounce back after hard times. Client's frequency of feeling nervous, tense, worried, frustrated, or afraid. And then we will have another brand new element called moving on. And this is for permanent supportive housing projects. So this is about assistance related to moving in somewhere. So this has to do with whether or not they receive subsidized housing application assistance or financial assistance for moving on, such as a security deposit or moving expenses, and non-financial assistance for moving on, such as housing navigation and transition support, housing referral or placement, or other. And then another new element is youth education status. This is only required for projects that receive the Youth Homeless Demonstration Program grant funding. And this will ask questions about current school enrollment and attendance, most recent educational status, current educational status, and that's it. And then we will have a new data element requirement for an existing element that we already had. The general health status will be required for permanent supportive housing projects. And this is just a question that asks, what is the general health status on a scale from excellent to poor? Okay, so now with Rye changes, these are required for Rye programs. We will have a revised data collection for pregnancy status. And the revision here is that we're removing the limitation on collecting this data solely for female participants, because more than just people who identify as female can be pregnant. And we're also revising the language to response options for family critical issues. So there's an example, screenshot example here of what it currently looks like. And it's going to be changing from mental health disorder. It's going to be changing from mental health issues to mental health disorder. And it's going to be changing from alcohol or substance abuse to alcohol or substance use disorder. So just minor language changes there.
Hey, I'm going to go over the HOPWA program changes. And this is just for the HOPWA programs in HMIS. So there is revised language on the services provided by HOPWA when you go in and make a service transaction. So the type of HOPWA service, they're going to change language there for the option substance abuse service / treatment. So now it's going to read substance use disorder / service. I'm sorry, it's going to read substance use disorder service / treatment instead of substance abuse services / treatment. And then on the entry assessment, there's going to be a new field added for the medical assistants. It's going to add if the client is receiving Ryan White funded medical or dental assistance. So that's just going to be added down there at the bottom with the other medical assistance questions. And then also a new element is going to be added. It's going to be asking, has the participant been prescribed anti-viral drugs? And then you can choose a response, yes, no, client doesn't know, client refused, or data not collected. So those are the new ones for HOPWA. And for VA, again, when you're choosing the financial assistance type, there's an option there that is asking general housing, stability assistance, emergency supplies. So they're merging that together, and it's going to say general housing, stability assistance. And then also they added food assistance as well as a type of service. And also they're revising the target criteria element on the entry assessments.
Yeah, that was like a lot of different edits to the HB targeting criteria. So
yeah, so it's just going to be, I believe, revised completely. So just be aware of that. And if you have any questions, submit a ticket to us, because it says here it's fully revised from the fiscal year 2020 version. So it looks like, any questions?
So we have a few questions already in the Q&A, so I'm going to start with answering those. The first question was, when will the new well-being answers be recorded, entry, interim, and or exit? Yes, they'll actually supposed to be recorded at entry, at annual assessment, and at exit. The well-being questions are only for COC funded permanent supportive housing projects. So that's why it's the annual assessment as well. The next one was, will there be an option to select refused on well-being, or should the staff member make an observation? What will the standard be? Yes, for each of the questions, each of the well-being questions, part of the Likert scale is a client refused, client doesn't know, or data not collected option, which is always not a correct response necessarily, but is more of a response saying why this data wasn't collected. And the last question is on well-being, how many options can be selected at one time? For those well-being questions, it is going to be only one response for each question. I believe gender and race are going to be the only fields that you're going to allow for multiple selections based on how the client identifies. Dakota, you can take us away. We'll still be here for a little bit longer if there's more questions coming in. Another question asking about the new data entry forms and the HP targeting that has changed significantly and when those will be available. Stephanie, do you want to answer that, Stephanie Crum?
Yes, all paper data forms are going to be available on October 4th after a data subcommittee.
So the new fields, are they for new clients or all clients as of 10/1? So as of 10/1, we'll start entering as under the 10/1 data standards. So you won't need to go back and edit a client's entry to have the update, but at annual assessment or exit after 10/1, you'd want to complete those questions under the new data standard. Many of the changes will, like with gender and race, will occur automatically. The slides, I believe, get sent out or are available on our website starting next week. I'm not sure what day they get sent up to the website. Does someone have the answer to when the slides and notes will be updated?
We don't send out the slides, but we do send notes out and the recording.
We also created a cheat sheet that we'll send out when the information goes out back via MailChimp. And will this be available to watch in archives? I'm sorry, I was interviewing hopefully new staff. Hi, Suzanne. Actually, yes. All of these webinar sessions, well, this particular webinar session will be available at a later date on our website mid-October, but this will go out this week, next week. What were the dates, you guys? Can someone go back to that first slide?
October 5th.
October 5th, this will go out so that anyone that missed it or anyone that wants to review it, this will all go out to you on October 5th. And then anyone that missed any portion of it can do the Q&A session October 8th, Friday, October 8th. So we'll have the webinar out by next Tuesday to everyone.
Okay, so if you have any more questions, you can continue sending those in and we'll stick around for a little bit to answer them. But thank you very much for joining us today. Your feedback is very important to us. So in the next 30 minutes, please expect an email with a link to a 4-question survey from SurveyMonkey to collect your feedback. And if your question was not answered today, please submit a ticket to the HMIS help desk. And have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.